issues. I myself, for those who don't know, I'm a real estate attorney by trade, so I am versed in some of these issues as well. That I will be able to help inform you on some questions that you may have. So tonight with us we have the Department of License and Inspection, the Department of Revenue, the Office of Property Assessment, we have the Philadelphia Corporation on Aging, and we also have Office of State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, who are here this evening to help answer questions that you have. First and foremost, I definitely want to thank Bright Hope Baptist Church for hosting us. Please let's give Bright Hope a round of applause, please. And with that, I would like to bring up the pastor of Bright Hope Baptist Church, Reverend McKinney, please.
Good evening. Today we mourn the loss of a giant who impacted not only our nation, but also the world. And there are a lot of moving parts that has been transpiring through the course of this day. And wanted to thank our councilman. And I'd like to use official titles. Dr. Jeffrey Young, he has Esquire, Doctorate of Jurisprudence. Dr. Jeffrey Young, we stand on the shoulders of giants who we are standing on their shoulders to do the work of justice. And I met Brother Councilman Young early in my pastorate. We needed some legal work done, and he was the first person that we talked to, and I trust him. I don't go out on the limb to put my support behind people who I don't vet myself. And I can call him when I hear things in the community and share with him. And we talk through how best we can navigate through it. He shares his perspective, and I'm appreciative for that. It is my responsibility as a pastor and prophet in this neighborhood to hold our officials accountable, just as our members hold us accountable. And I'm telling you the truth that this councilman that we have is one that loves this neighborhood, loves this district, and we are very appreciative of your leadership. Thank you for centering us today to talk about this critical issue of taxes. We want to make sure that when we acquire our homes, that we're able to keep our homes. And we know the very important nature of home ownership, starting from Dr. William H. Gray Jr. and I believe his name was Dennis. Denny, thank you. Sister Priscilla Woods always get me together. Denny, they came up with this idea many years ago to ensure that there is Black ownership in this community. And boy, have we been blessed to have homeowners who stay in this community amidst all of the challenges that we often find ourselves confronted with. Thank you for staying in this community, making sure that it's beautiful, to make sure that it's safe. And we're here as a Bright Hope community to let you know that we are here standing in complete solidarity. And thank you, Councilman Young, for allowing me to say good afternoon or good evening. We're going to go up shortly for a prayer vigil as leaders around the Commonwealth, clergy, come together to pray for the memory of one whom we lost, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. Good evening.
Thank you, Pastor, for those words. I'm not allowed to really, talk about who my clients were as an attorney because of privilege, but just know that I represented community, right? So whatever you hear out there, just know you're hearing it firsthand. The type of clients that I represented here in the city of Philadelphia, they are of our community, and so with that. I would like to, bring up some of the folks who are here just so they can give us just a brief synopsis of what their office does. And they have tables here in the back. And so with the questions that you may have individually, we can go and visit those tables to talk to those folks. Again, I am here as well to answer any and all questions that we can answer. I know outside of just the property tax issues or home ownership issues, there are a lot of quality of life issues that are facing our city today. I can assure you that we are working each and every day to improve those issues. I know we are hearing about the school district of Philadelphia closing certain schools. This neighborhood will be impacted by that. That's something that the school district has not been openly promoting. But there's a school called Ludlow that is scheduled to close. It's not too far from this community. And some of those kids are either going to go to the Spring Garden School or the Dunbar, which is the school in this community, right? And so that affects, this community as well. So those are things that we're really trying to get to the bottom line with the school district going, so I can inform you on the decision-making process that's happening. But first, I would like to bring up, I will say the star of the show tonight, who folks want to hear from. I'm going to bring up Miss Selena Cunningham. She is the communications coordinator for the Office of Property Assessment, to give you all an overview about what OPA does. And she'll be here again to answer, will be here to answer any questions that folks may have about that particular office. So Miss Cunningham, please.
Good evening. When he said star, I started looking around like, who we have? Who's here? I'm Selima Cunningham. I am the Communications and Community Outreach Coordinator for the Office of Property Assessment. So what our office does, we evaluate property in the city of Philadelphia. So our office is the reason why you receive your tax bill. Don't get angry about that, but that's the reality. So what we typically do, we evaluate the properties, and the number that we provide as your valuation, we then give that over to the Department of Revenue, and then that's how they draw your bill. There are ways to help you with your tax liability, one of which is the appeals process. So if someone feels that their assessment is incorrect, you can go through the appeals process and potentially get the valuation lowered. There are also a number of programs out of the Department of Revenue that could potentially also assist you with those costs as well. So yes. Yeah, so the question is, how are we assessing different types of properties? That's what I'm hearing, right? Yeah, so property valuation, it's an appraisal. So even when you do a commercial appraisal, like properties are compared to each other to come up with a fair value or fair assessment. So we're comparing like properties. So there are commercial properties, residential, you have mixed use, multifamily, so on and so forth. So we compare like properties to get a valuation. If you have a lot of sales in the area, the sales are going to contribute to what that value is. If you have a lot of volume where there are higher sales, and obviously you will have a higher valuation. There are instances where, say, one neighborhood can have a lot of investment, but the people as individuals may not all have modified their homes in a way to make their individual property higher. If you have a case like that, that's where the appeals process will come in handy. You're able to work with your evaluator one-on-one and let them know, well, I don't have these, I haven't rehabbed my property the way some of these other folks have. I still have an older kitchen, or I still have the original bathroom, whatever the case is. And that way we can kind of work with you for that. Yes, so you can have your evaluator come out to your house to do a spot valuation. You don't have to have them come in. Some people want them to come, some people don't. So that's up to you. That's between you and the evaluator. They can take a spot look, or sometimes they'll allow you to send pictures. But that's why the appeals process is really good, because you do get an opportunity to work sort of one-on-one with your evaluator and come to a resolution. Yes, so the question was about the deadline. So I have a copy of what the assessment looks like. It comes in the mail, and you do have a deadline. So you have a deadline with the appeal from the Office of Property Assessment. It's typically in September. And then you also have an appeal with the Board of Revision and Taxes, which is a higher level of appeal. And that's typically in October. So what we recommend, any individual who wants to appeal their assessment, it's best to appeal with both the Office of Property Assessment as well the Board of Revision and Taxes, so that you're on time for both. Yes, ma'am.
I recognize that what goes up never comes down, but, how does a homeowner preserve generational wealth? Yeah. Okay. Oh. But I never know. Again, what goes up never comes down.
That's not true.
How does a homeowner preserve generational wealth after being in their home for 35 years and the house is already paid for?
How does an individual preserve their generational wealth if they're,
Yeah, generational wealth. So
yes, how do you maintain that?
how to do this?
I'm gonna take a stab at trying to answer that question. It's a loaded question, but I want to be able to be clear on this, right? So if you own your property free and clear, meaning you don't have any mortgages or liens on it, you still are responsible to pay the property taxes on that property, right? So I just wanted to put that out there too. And as long as if you want to maintain, I guess, the generational wealth, where you want to be able to leave something to pass on to your family members, the best way to go about it is preserving your property, right? Keeping your property in a condition that will always be able to appreciate in value, right? Maintain it so you're not creating a burden for that next generation, right? Because I folks that get left property that it's going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain. That's not establishing generational wealth, right?
No.
So I would say, I would say keep your property in a position where when it's time to pass it on, there's equity in that process.
Yeah, well, that's not my question. That's not the answer I was looking for. Of course, all of us do want to preserve our property and for generational wealth. But what I'm saying, the taxes that are sent to us to pay the bill for keeping our homes, because if we don't pay the taxes, we don't keep our homes.
Okay, so that's the question. The question is about the rising taxes regarding your property. So in those instances, what I'll say is, one thing that when people invest in real estate, when you buy your home, you're investing in the community, right? And when you invest in the community, you want to see your values rise. You want to see your investment grow. It shouldn't grow overnight $100,000. That's not what we're saying. Over time, I think what the city has been able to do is create programs that allow you to maintain your home when the values rise, overnight. So we do have the senior tax freeze program, and I know that's a program that everyone doesn't qualify for, right? Because of income base. But there are programs like the homestead exemption that the city has put down, where you get $100,000 off of your assessment. So these are programs that the city is trying to help the community with when it comes to rising taxes. There's the loop program, where your taxes go up, you don't pay more than 150% of that value of the increased taxes. So those are programs that the city has in place to help you all try to maintain some affordability. And there's also payment plan agreements that the city has in place for you to maintain your home while you're in it. We can't do nothing about taxes going up. If your property values want to go up, right? So the question is that I have is, do you want your property value to go up?
I don't live in my property.
But if you want to be able to pass on that generational wealth, right, that generational increase for your investment that you put in, things have to rise. You don't want your house, if you paid $20,000 for your house in 1970, you don't want your kids, your grandkids in 2026 to still have a house that's worth $20,000.
Afford to pay my taxes so I can maintain my home and live in my home. So when it goes to my grandchildren, that'll be their problem. But right now, the senior citizens can't afford paying these taxes. The other thing is just paying the taxes alone. We have to maintain the property. And then what happens is, then when when new people come in, they pay a certain amount of money for the homes. Then we have to pay those taxes. We have developers out there with a set getting yes, that's the word excuse me, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. But there's a lot that senior citizens especially do not qualify for.
And that's one.
That's what I'm having a problem with.
And one thing that I have been advocating for is an increase in our senior tax relief program because of the fact that most seniors are on fixed incomes. Our issue that we face is that those programs are based on state-related programs. We in the city of Philadelphia do not have the ability to say, all right, seniors, if your income is $60,000, we'll freeze your taxes. We can't do that here. We are limited by what the state allows us to do. And that's why I think we have some of these programs that allow us, I'm a property owner as well, allow us to pay those property taxes on a monthly basis, on a reduced basis, to ensure that that you maintain your property. My mom today, right? She has I'm not going to say the number, but it's a 5-figure tax bill that she has. But the city allows her to pay that off monthly in order to maintain her home, right? But it's a tax bill that unfortunately that she had to inherit when she got that property. But they don't go away. But we want to be able to provide you with the resources that you have the ability to pay your taxes. If your property values go up, the byproduct of that is taxes go up. But we in the city of Philadelphia have programs to make sure that you're not as your taxes go up a certain amount, you're not being run out of your property. You still have the ability to afford to pay those taxes with the level of programs that we have. And I implore everyone that if you believe your taxes are too high, file an appeal. File an appeal. I implore everyone to do that, right? But ultimately, the city does not have the ability to stop someone from buying a house in your community at a certain number, right? We just don't have that ability. So if someone buys a house in your community for $250,000, right? If it's a like house in that same community, the city's going to assess your house at that same price because they use a market-based system for our property assessment. Now we can agree that I don't think that's the way we should be doing it. I disagree with our method. But that's the method that we have in the city now. And I think we should look at more of a land value tax and some other things that we can do to make sure that the costs the residents can bear the burden of those costs when it comes to the taxes. But right now we do have programs like the Loop and the Homestead that provide opportunities for community members, for homeowners to pay a little bit more lower in their tax rate than they should if those programs didn't exist. And I understand that the question about preserving that generational wealth, because that's what we all want to do. And I think the city has programs in place that will help ease that burden of rising property taxes. They are there. We can't stop it from rising, right? We can't cap market prices. But what we can do is ensure that there are programs in place that you all can qualify for to make sure that you have the ability to stay in your home and live comfortably.
Do developers still get the 10 years tax?
Well, it is a 10-year abatement. It is not a 10-year full abatement. It's on a sliding scale. So they'll get 100% in year one, 90% year 2, 80% year 3 is on a sliding scale for 10 years. However, not just developers get that abatement. If you renovate your house, you can get that abatement too, right? So that's, yeah. If you renovate your house, you do a substantial rehab of your house, you can get that abatement as well. And I think that's information that we need to start plugging out there, pushing out there to the community. But that's also done through the Office of Property Assessment. The numbers is substantial, right? So it's a or like a 70%. It's not a set thing you have to do. It's not like if you put a kitchen in, you get an abatement. But if you do some substantial rehabilitation to your house, you can qualify for that abatement.
I'm sitting here and I have no idea about, abatement being qualified, you know? I mean,
Sure.
I'm a retired state trooper, okay? And, basically, this is the first time I'm hearing that. If I had a meeting, yeah, we could have had a report to renovate our property, or bring it up to par a long time ago.
From my understanding, this has been in effect since the legislation originally passed, since the state gave us that ability to do the 10-year tax abatement. It has always been there. During those times, I was not the representative of the community, right? And all I can do now is bring you that information that I have now at my fingertips, to empower you with that information. But ultimately, we have to, do what we can do moving forward. And what I can do moving forward as a councilman now to make sure you have that information to do what you need to do and make that decision if you want to do.
Well, Councilman, this is why I asked you about having this, because a lot of people don't understand and they don't even know about all these different programs. So this is the reason why I wanted everybody to know about the programs, whether they qualify or not.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it.
And we do have
Now.
someone from the revenue department who I would like to bring up so they can just discuss what the revenue department's role is and some of the programs that are available to community members and some of these I guess they're the freeze programs and some of the other property owner relief programs. So please, if you don't mind. Yeah.
How you doing? Hi, how are you? Hi, my name's Ian Schumacher. I am with Revenue. Am I getting feedback?
No, that's me. That's me.
Okay. I usually just talk loud, so, Department of Revenue's main role is to collect taxes, business taxes, property taxes, also other fees such as commercial trash fees. All the monies that are collected are then distributed to pay both the school district, their budget, as well as the city's budget. Through that also, we do manage different property tax relief programs as well with the water department. We're not the utility, but we do collect the money for the water department and we manage the assistance program, the TAP program for the water department as well. Did you want me to cover just briefly? Okay. All right. So there's 4 main real estate tax, property tax relief programs. The first one and the most popular is the homestead exemption. The only requirement that you own your home and that it's your primary residence. If you own 3 or 4 properties, you're only going to qualify for the primary residence. You don't have to reapply every year. You apply once, and what it does is it takes the first $100,000 and waives taxes. You're exempt from paying taxes on the first $100,000. You can also get with the, you can also, in addition to the tax, to the homestead exemption, also get the tax freezes if you qualify on the low income side, the senior tax freeze and the low income tax freeze. The primary difference with the senior tax freeze is that once you apply, unless you do something with your deed, you don't have to reapply or resubmit income every year. So that's a good benefit. In the perfect world, it'd be nice to have, no tax liability, but then again, like keep the street lights on and everything. But these programs are here to help to kind of alleviate a lot of the, what we're all experiencing. Like I have currently in my situation, I had the homestead exemption But with my property in my neighborhood in Port Richmond, the property taxes are starting to creep up because of the development coming up from Fishtown. My property qualifies for LOOP, which is one of the other programs the councilman had mentioned, but I still stick with the homestead exemption because I'm still saving the most money with it. So you do have that ability to evaluate like what you're, if you are eligible for more than one of the programs to see which is going to work best for your situation. So you have the two tax freezes, you have the homestead exemption, and then you have the fourth program, which is what I mentioned, which is the long-time owner occupants program, or LOOP. And it's basically the program's designed for neighborhoods like what we're living in and what we're going through, the gentrification, development. And it's nice to have equity in our homes, but you know, on the flip side, then it's affecting how much we have to pay in taxes every year. So if you own your home and you, it's your primary residence, you've been there for 10 years, your property meets certain criteria for the increase in the value. Meaning, if your house had increased 50% over the previous assessment, then the property would qualify, or 75% over the past 5 years. The cheapest, the easiest way to figure that out is if you go to a website that we have in the city, it's property.phila.gov. And you can look up your address, and halfway down the screen, there's a real estate tax estimator. You can select any of the programs, especially with LOOP. It'll tell you right away if your property is eligible for LOOP. So you don't have to figure out the math or anything like that. Like I said before, the homestead and LOOP you can't have both at the same time, but you can look on that tool and see, like, okay, if I'm like right now, my situation, I have homestead because I'm still saving about $600 a year over if I had LOOP, even though I qualify for LOOP. The last part with LOOP is that it's not low income, it's based on the median income threshold. So a single homeowner can earn up to 100,000. A couple can earn up to 110,000, and it's a sliding scale, I believe, up to like 6 in the household. Any questions so far? In the back, sir? Oh, wait, no, hold on. Cowboys fan? I'll take the Eagles fan. No, go ahead.
Good evening. You said the homestead program, you don't have to reapply for it once you apply for it?
No, the only time you would have to reapply is if something you change with the deed. If you add, remove somebody, in some cases, like if you refinance, anytime the deed is re-recorded or it's just with the Department of Records, it's just a computer default, like the revenue's computer tax system doesn't know if, you know, it's you still or if it's a new homeowner. So it's just anytime to change anything with the deed, you need to know that the real estate programs you have to reapply for.
And
If you don't change the deed, you don't have to reapply.
And my, is income guidelines on all?
I'm sorry, say that one more
Is
time.
it income guidelines on all things you're talking?
Homestead doesn't have any income requirement.
Should still be there.
Yes,
As of today.
yes. Yeah, I know, we're gonna look at your situation. Yep. So just one other quick thing though, a lot of times there's a little bit of confusion, like when they say like, I'm on the tax freeze. Sometimes people don't know that, like, when you have a mortgage and they reassess your escrow every year, sometimes what you pay can go up or it can go down. It's not anything that has to do with what the city is charging you in taxes. It's what your bank does when they evaluate your escrow account each year. I do get that question a lot. That's why I just try to bring that out and you know, just to inform everyone. And then I'll take one more question.
Okay, so with the homestead rebate, I mean, with the homestead on property taxes, you can also have the senior as well?
Yes,
You can have both of them?
yes.
So when you say senior, what's the age bracket?
65 and above.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
Up your.
Jim, who was left over, sir?
And also, I'll be at the table afterwards if anybody wants to stop by, just so we, you know, keep things moving along. The water discount? So there's a senior citizen water discount. It's built into the TAP application. So the TAP application is the single benefit application for if you were just experiencing hardship, if you're behind on your water bill, or if you just want to get the senior discount. You apply the single application, then it'll tell you what you qualify for. So it'll look at your income and say, okay, you qualify for a certain tier. So it can kind of have like a budget plan for you in effect if you are current. And as well, if you're behind on your payments, if you have like, for example, if you owe $1,500 in taxes, but you have really good, an income level that you've applied, but it says, your agreement would be $50 a month for 24 months. The benefit of that is as long as you make your payments at the end of the 24 months, whatever the remaining balance is would be forgiven in full. So it's a really good program. Okay, and the only other one thing I wanted to bring up really quick is payment agreements. If you own your home outright, taxes are due in full, taxes are due in March of each year. You can go onto the Philadelphia Online Tax Center, which is tax-services@phila.gov, and you can sign up for your own payment plan. There are also other payment plans that are income sensitive, and then there's also a payment agreement plan for people who are behind on their taxes. People get behind on their taxes, you get nervous, you don't want to call. Always reach out and call because we're always going to want to work with you. We're not in the business of sheriff sales. We don't want that. With the UPA, which is an agreement, there's no money down required, and it'll automatically stop a sheriff's sale. If your house is scheduled to go next week and you sign up for the UPA, it'll stop it. You have to hold up your end of the deal and make the payments once it starts, but it's a really good program. It'll also help, depending on your income level and repayment, to help waive some of the interest and penalties that you would face when you're behind on taxes. For both of them programs, for water and also for the senior tax rates, it's 65. All right.
Thank
Yep.
you.
You can stop by.
And so again, revenue and OPA folks are here, to answer specific questions that people may have. You have a question, Ms. Woods?
I don't get a question, but it's just curiosity. Why is it that all of the properties in Yorktown, when, for the sale, the build date, the date that the property was built, all of them are 1920? What does that mean?
The city doesn't know. The city estimates a lot of, properties in the city. They did not do their homework to actually look at the original deeds to see, honestly, it's just laziness, right? They just estimate when properties were built in this city. They have the same thing on, my house. I have no idea when it was actually built, but they just use a lot of estimates around the time when the city was developing for that. But that is something that they can easily, research and change to see when those properties were built. But thanks for bringing that to my attention. That's something that we can look into. So at least they have some accuracy with that. Okay. Thank you. Next, we do have a representative from licensing and inspection. If you don't mind just coming up, just talking to the community about what your role is at LNI and the services that LNI can provide. So I want to bring up Mr. Najib Edens. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am nervous.
Talking to the witness.
How you doing? My name is Najib Edens. I work for License and Inspections. I've been working for the city of Philadelphia for 15 years. I started off at 311, then I became an inspector. Now I'm the supervisor of the license issuance unit. Also went to Dunbar at the corners. Yes, ma'am. I didn't go to Wanamaker. Mom shipped me out. He was supposed to make. So with license and inspections, we do everything from permits to licenses. Licenses such as a rental license, a contractor license, et cetera. We also do complaints, property complaints that a lot of you guys are familiar with. So if you have a nuisance neighbor with, say, high grass or construction, you will contact 311, who will put a complaint in, and we'll have inspectors come out to inspect. Also, some of you guys for rental licenses. We issue and renew rental licenses, food licenses, etc. Any questions? The majority, yes, ma'am.
You oversee all of the. You good? Yes. Okay. So
I can hear you.
okay, so, just in this Yorktown. We've been stand up for that a whole bunch of cases in terms of properties being rented out. Investors coming in, but they're able to get licenses and the community feels as though they shouldn't have. For example, there is a house. There is a house that received a license to make the home. So there is a house in the Customs. They were approved to get a license to make that a happy use. So my question is to you, how would that happen? This is a community, single family homes. So how did the license be given to that person to open that house as a halfway house?
Before you can receive a license for a halfway house, first you need zoning. And in order to get the zoning use.
Can you go over to your mic? Okay.
Prior to obtaining a license for that property, you would need zoning for a halfway house. And for that particular zoning, it wouldn't have the right of way zoning. So it would be denied and they would have to go to the zoning board. When they go to the zoning board, they gotta post the zoning notice. And at that zoning hearing, the neighborhood is free to come and express their concerns.
I mean, which we've done for years and years and years and years. But again, I just found that odd for a community like these single family dwellings, for that person to be able to get a license to open a halfway house. I mean, there was a lot of noise behind it. It's not operating anymore as a halfway house, but I'm just saying, how did that person get a license to do that?
In some of these instances, folks are operating illegally, right? And so when you see that type of activity happen, we really encourage you to call us, call LNI, so we can get out there to enforce. LNI is good at enforcing those types of issues, I'll say. But we need you all to be vigilant on what's happening in those properties. Just to give you all just some information, as long as there is no more than 3 unrelated people in a dwelling unit, then they meet the qualifications to still be a single family home. But once you get that 4th person who isn't related, then that's when enforcement can take place, because then it can be considered a group home or a rooming home or something like that. But as long as there's no more than 3 unrelated people, they meet the letter of the law essentially.
And they could only write. They could write the violation.
So what he said is they only can write the violations for what they see, L and I. So if they don't see multiple people living in the property, it's gonna be difficult for them to write the violation. But that's why we're have to rely on you all to give us that information, give us the evidence so that they can go ahead to do the enforcement.
You have to be able to see it because they will have to be able to get it.
That's right.
So if they have to physically see the fourth person, fifth person in that home, they're not gonna see. it. Come to the court, you're not gonna be able to get in, or they don't speak it.
Yes. That is happening, yes.
You
I
understand?
used to be an inspector, right? But I would think, in a case like that, I would sit outside. I would just sit in my car because you know I work the license and inspections. I'm not. I
You
would
gonna
sit,
do it overnight?
no, we don't do it. But what I'm saying is a lot of times I did get into properties that you would think that I wouldn't be able to get in.
Okay, you
Or-
want us to
or
take
example.
pictures? Is pictures of
Yes.
valid?
Because like I said, you write, you only write what we see. So when they write a case, they have pictures attached to each and every case.
So I can take a picture with my cell phone.
No matter.
Why?
Inspector could take it when he takes the picture.
You gonna be there all night?
No, ma'am. Let's be realistic. No, ma'am. But we write what we see, and we will sit outside of our house for half hour and get your lunch or second. You'll be surprised of what I was able to get into. I was able to get in the Airbnbs. I've been able to get into rooming houses,
They can't hear me.
but it's not easy.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. I've been able to gain entry to rooming houses, to Airbnbs, but it's not easy. And it is a cat and mouse game. Ma'am, we deny more applications than we approve. When we deny application, you cannot win an appeal against us. I can guarantee you that. We don't just give out Airbnb, limited lodging licenses. We cross our Ts and dot our Is and we deny. So to obtain a limited lodging license, you must really live in that property. Trust me, because we do everything from looking at your tax account to even Googling folks and see what comes up. We do our due diligence with the limited lodging license. And it's only myself and another supervisor that issue that license. And it's hard, it's not easy to attain. Certain licenses, like electrical contractor, a demolition contractor, limited lodging. There's only a few people that actually issue those licenses, and we don't give it to just anybody. That is correct, yes. And that's their legal right.
Yeah, that's their right. That's where, if we're with any property in the city. Now, there is an overlay for Yorktown specifically, that states that it cannot be student rentals, right? And that's something that and it's an enforcement issue as well, right? So we then have to let us know where those properties are. So then, but just give us your address, right? Give us the address. That's why we're here, right? Give us the address. So then we can then take it to L&I so they can do their investigations. If they see that there's students walking with triple T's on, then we know that that's in violation of the ordinance. But we have to know that information. The property owners don't care. Like they know the law too. They just don't care, right? And so they would rather risk the enforcement than to not rent the properties because it's just worth it to them. So I think we have to rely on you all then to tell us, we got students living next to us. We have verified information that we know there are students living next to us, and then we'll be able to have L&I come out there to enforce that. But there is a provision that says that no student housing in that Yorktown community. Yeah, well, if we have those addresses, then we'll make sure that Ellen and I can come out there to enforce that.
Yeah.
Town. So, in one of the major community meetings, Farmer Williams said, if they didn't have the man, they didn't have the manpower to do what we were asking, all of these houses. So what do we do?
What I'll say to that is that's when, I have a different perspective on that, right? You don't have they have the manpower, they don't have the willpower. Like that's what it comes down to, because even if it takes you, we're not asking you to do this all in one day, right? But we're asking you to take time out to investigate and enforce. And I think people are realistic enough to understand that it's not going to happen. L&I is not going to come out there like the SWAT team and get every property. But as long as they're continuing to at least try to enforce, the word is going to get out where they're going to start self-enforcing themselves, right? Realizing, wait, L&I's might be coming for me. So we have to at least try to enforce the laws that are on the books. And that's something that my office will continue to push forward for, to make sure that those type of inspections are happening when the complaints are made. But you got to make the complaints though. You got to call our office. You got to call 311. It has to be a record of it so we can follow up with the agencies and inspectors.
My granddaughter was getting ready to rent a house on Chesapeake Place. It did not have a kitchen in it. And I think that's illegal.
It is.
And I was telling her, but when they had a fire at the house that John Street used to live in, when I spoke to the, I think she was an inspector or something, she told me it wasn't a kitchen in that house either. She said it was all rooms. And they're not only renting out the rooms, they're renting out the garages. But when I went into that house with my granddaughter, it wasn't a kitchen, it was all rooms. So if I give you that address, can you go see about it? Okay, thank you.
And there is a bill floating in city council right now that would have like pre-inspections for rental units. So that could be something that if this bill passes, that L&I will be able to see and enforce that before they get their rental license, that folks can actually see what those properties look like and how they are, I guess, cut up and designed. I think it's fairly obvious to see if, folks are renting out the garage as a room, things like that. So if this law does pass, we'll have more preemptive inspections. So hopefully in the city. So you don't have to get a CEO. It's not a CEO with every tenancy, but it will be the renewal of your rental license. Any other questions for Eleanor? Hold on, Miss, she's coming with the microphone.
So how do you counteract when you have students living in the homes and their landlord has already told them, telling out counties, don't let them. I've seen that. I've seen that happen. The house next door to me. I've watched the L&I inspector who's been fighting, knocked on the door, and he asked the young lady, are you a student? Whatever. She was like, no, I'm gonna go to work. I gotta go to work. And I know the was a student. I've seen her go to school and come home. She would not let him in. So what do you do? Or how do you counter it?
So I think that's up to our inspectors to be more informed on what's happening in this community. And that's something that my office, I can assure you that we'll work on that with L&I. to make sure that inspectors are more vigilant on that particular issue for this neighborhood. Any other questions regarding L&I? Well, thank you so much. The folks that will be in the back to answer any more questions before we move on. Gentlemen, sorry.
Or et cetera. Actually, got this neighbor.
What's the question?
L&I does come out on weekends. We have the nuisance property task force, which comes out, normally address bars, after hour clubs and businesses that operate on nights and weekends. But for this issue, I would reach out to the supervisor in the district office because you could get some special attention if you got multiple property addresses and the need for it, and they could put something together for you.
Thank you. Any other questions about L&I? Well, let's give this young man a round of applause, please. Again, those folks are in the here in the back to answer questions after we, have finished this dialogue. I would like to bring up one last person, Mr. Santos Ramos, if you don't mind coming up, introducing yourself and talking to the community about the services that PCA.
So first off, Councilman, I thought this was a senior event. I don't think anybody here is over 50, right? It's a good-looking crowd. It's a Tuesday night, still lively. So there are 3 phone numbers in Philadelphia that you should all know, right? If you got an emergency, 911. If you got a complaint, 311. Maybe your councilman, I don't know. Or if you need help and you're a senior, or you know a senior who needs help, it's the PCA hotline. That is something I want everybody to know. It is a one-stop shop for older adults in Philadelphia to get the support and the services they need. This is huge, what I'm talking about, because so many services are so segmented, right? You call this number, then they got you going here, and then you go over there, and then they go, oh, but you got to get this over there, right? PCA, you call our helpline, we're talking about property tax and rent rebates, right? They will walk you through the steps. They will walk you through the application. They will help you fill it out, and then they will send you where to go. There is no, oh, well, you got to, go over there and get the form and then come back and talk to us. This is a one-stop shop that I am talking about, and it is such a resource. And folks will hear me talk about all the time, folks that I work with, folks that I talk to about my mother-in-law, because I always say, she is a consumer here at PCA, right? So if I'm not doing a good job, if we're not doing a good job, I'm gonna hear from it at home, right? So I know that there are so many folks who get so much support. So there's, and more than I could even go into, right? We do, senior centers, right? They are such a great resource. Almost all of them have social workers on site that can help you navigate in person. There's an emergency fund. If you go to these senior centers, you're a member of that senior center, they will help you fill out the application for PCA's emergency fund. That is, in November, right? What happened with SNAP, right? There is an emergency fund that could have helped hold so many folks over, but so many folks didn't know about it, right? And that's disappointing. So when I'm out here, I'm telling folks, get connected. PCA's helpline, right? That's a big one. But also the senior centers are such a vital resource. They are not, the stigma of what a senior center is. That's a nursing home, right? When I'm talking about senior centers, I was just at one earlier this morning. They're crocheting things to then help give to children at SHOP who are getting surgery, right? That's the kind of stuff that goes on at senior centers. They're having more fun than I'm having out here, okay? So I fully encourage everybody to take a part of your local senior center. They are such gifts and such resources for every community that they are in. I am happy to answer questions. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for too much longer, but I am happy to answer questions. And if anybody needs to reach me, where do you call? What are you gonna call? Not 911, right? Not 311? What is it? Yeah, that's right. All right, all right. What's the number? It is 215-765-9040. And I have brochures and pamphlets in the back, and they all have the PCA helpline. And there are so many great services. A lot of folks don't know, caregiver support. You can get, if your family members are providing caregiver support, and so many family members are, you could be a caregiver yourself. You are usually spending money, right, to help out of your pocket. We help reimburse folks. It's crazy that folks don't know more about that, because we're talking hundreds of dollars that folks are otherwise spending out of pocket that they can get reimbursed. So many great programs and services out there. I want to make sure folks understand and know about. So it depends on the program, right? So when we're talking about property tax rent rebates, there's one thing I do want to clear up. If you are a widow or a widower and you are 50 up, you also can still qualify, right? So there are some of those things, right? So there are programs like that where it's not just, once you turn 60 or 65, then you can finally call PCA. We know in Philadelphia, especially, grandparents are raising, younger children, right? But what does that mean? Grandparents, again, in Philadelphia, that doesn't mean, you're 80 years old, right? You could be 40, you could be 50 and still, raising grandchildren. So, it depends on the program for sure. Certainly many of our programs are 60 and up, but I know there are, definitely programs out there, depending on what you're trying to get. I must have did a great job. Wow, thank you.
One question.
Thank you, Santos. Really appreciate that information.
One question.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Spoke with Philadelphia Parking
Mhm.
Authority. Okay. Philadelphia Parking Authority stated that we have to come to our councilman, state representative, legislative. We have to touch base with all these individuals, okay? In reference to the 25 miles per hour on Broad Street, which is an accident waiting to happen. I'm speaking for the community, not just for me, but I'm speaking for me, but I'm speaking for everybody, okay? When you put your foot on the gas pedal, you're at 25. When you get to the next light, you're over the 11, or you're at 11. You're getting a ticket at 11, which is unfair. That's Broad Street don't have a whole lot of runs. Okay, not a whole lot. They have them. They have the speeding, okay? And I understand we got Temple all up and down, but you're talking about 25 miles an hour, okay? Which is unfair to the poor people like me. I have. And I'm gonna say this. They say, I don't know, but I wasn't there at the meeting or at the table. When you put your John Hancock on the paperwork to approve this, and I'm like, no, we couldn't have done this in the poor neighborhood up in there, and he know we don't have no money like this. Okay. People are getting 2, 3, 4 tickets within 1 month. That's not fair. That is not fair. You're looking, like I said, at 25 miles per hour, you're looking at an accident waiting to happen. And it might be the next one, might kill somebody. I don't know.
So
But
I'll address that issue. Yeah, I'll address it. I'll address it here. So
I didn't make working authority.
No, so I am-
Time.
so on city council, I am the chair of our Streets and Services Committee. So that legislation did go through my committee with the support of the mayor, right? The mayor wanted this passed through her Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems. This is something that the data has said that there are crashes all along that Broad Street corridor, and 25 miles an hour will help significantly reduce those amounts of crashes. That's what the data says, right? And I, as the chair of that committee, that legislation did come through my committee with the support of the mayor. We pushed that out of our committee because that's something that the mayor wanted to do as a part of her initiative to make this city a safer city. And I hear the complaints as well. I heard complaints from some business owners to say that, you know, the amount of traffic that's on Broad Street has hurt their business because it's not the same amount of folks that drive up and down Broad Street. I've heard from, you know, residents about how that they just push the traffic to the side streets. I am very, very familiar with this issue, and that's something that we are going to continue to look at and monitor, right? It's only been a few months that it's been implemented. It hasn't been a full year. I do want to give them an opportunity to prove that it is working or not working. But ultimately, this is something that we push forward on city council with this because the mayor, this is a part of her initiative, a part of her Vision Zero initiative for zero traffic deaths in the city. Back.
13 or 15. Oh, yeah. I don't, in Old York Road, they got 25 miles too. But I'm just saying, I understand it. You know, because I did ride on there, and I mean, just like what you're saying, you gotta, and the people in back of you is all up on your behind, because they don't want, I don't want to go over 25, and they want you to go over 25. So I've just learned
They got to slow down too.
that's what I'm talking about.
And I think that's why this was implemented because for some, our drivers are like to be in a rush. But we have to figure out how to slow these cars down because when we're driving, like we really have to take into consideration that we have other people's lives in our hand when we are driving, right? We are driving heavy machines.
But if it was like maybe 35, or maybe 41 Broad Street, 25.
40 is what they do on the boulevard. So I don't know if we want Broad Street to be as fast as the boulevard. So so the speed limit is, so it is 25, but when you go 36, that's when you get that ticket. So you can still go 35. You can go 35. Just don't go 36 when you go through where the lights at. And if anyone wants to know specifically where those lights at, because I kind of keep in my mind where they are, so I know, you can reach out to our office. We'll give you that information on where those lights are, so you know how to either avoid them or drive the speed limit in those particular areas.
It can follow.
Because now being the paper,
Right.
because now people are doing 800 miles in the community, ignoring stop signs or things going way. So I understand, I don't have it. 25 miles an hour on the street, but how can Saturday in the community? Especially when the summertime comes, we got a lot of kids out during the day and at night, and they like.
So one thing that we're doing is we're asking the streets department to do traffic studies on those side streets to provide us with that information. We're also asking the parking authority to give us the data on the zip codes on where the folks who have been receiving tickets, where are they from, where they live at? Like, are they in the communities where these lights are, or are they folks who are traveling through the communities? So we're trying to get this information. When we had these hearings and I asked the streets department and those in charge, I asked them specifically, how did you come up with 25 miles an hour? Can you show me the traffic studies? They hid behind a state law that said, we're not showing you the traffic study. Because I wanted to see for myself that 25 miles an hour was the recommended speed for Broad Street. They did not show it to me, and they hid behind some state law regarding lawsuits and something else that had nothing to do with this, but that's their right to do. So that is something that is out of our control when trying to get that information. However, the speed counts, the traffic counts and things like that is something that my office is looking into. We will be giving you that information. Yes, ma'am.
What it said. We'll be now, we know not to do 25. But there are people, if they said, oh, you can do 25 in the cul-de-sac, you know what?
So if you can give us that information, then we can ensure that we get some signs out to change those speed limits, because 20. Well, we can, so again, when they want to change it, right, they work with the state to make those changes they want to make. But we'll make sure my office can help you and help the community navigate that issue, because we can, figure out how to reduce some of those speeds in that area. Well, ultimately, if it comes back to a tag, the park authorities will figure that out, right? They some of the great enforcers in the city. I wish that they get, we train some of our other folks to enforce, like parking authority enforce. So they're going to figure out a way how to enforce and how to, I guess, disincentivize folks from traveling, at those racing speeds on Broad Street. But that's something that we are working on as the chair of the Streets and Services Committee. I have been following this and paying close attention to it. I do have a new staffer now who's my legislative director, a young man named Rashawn Johnson, who is going to be helping out on this particular issue as well. But we're going to make sure that the community stays informed about this particular process, because I have questions about the 25 miles an hour and why it's 25 versus 30 or some other speeds, right? But ultimately, we did this to support the mayor's vision of creating a safer Philadelphia. The data says that going slower saves lives, and so that's what we implemented here in the city. But
Want to give people a minute to the tables. They're leaving.
I'm sorry. 35. Yeah, so those are things that as I'm driving around the city, I'm looking at the mismatch of speeds in certain places as well. Because I can drive, because I think MLK Drive is 25 miles an hour too, something like that. So we have to really look at our system holistically to make sure that the speed limits are matching all across the city as well. But I do want to give folks the opportunity to go back to talk to some of the folks who are here from Revenue and L&I and OPA, because this has been a lovely conversation. But I am still going to be here to answer individual questions that people have. But I want to give you an opportunity to go back to talk to folks at the tables about some of the individual questions that you have regarding those certain departments. So again, the tax going up